This is my Honda PCX. This is my Zuma 125. And in this video, I'm going to talk to you about which one is better. To me, one is hands down better. You know, I've been riding the Zuma for a while, and I love its looks. I love the rugged looks of the little Zuma. But one thing you're going to notice, wheels are, of course, kind of knobby, and they are cupping, so they make much more noise. They are wearing out kind of terribly, and I only have 5,000 miles on it. I bought it with 2,000 miles. And you know, just to tell you, as soon as you get on that PCX, it is so much better. So much better. If you're thinking about getting a scooter for commuting, for pleasure, for deliveries, this thing is worlds better than this. Now, I do intend on taking this off-road because this is quite a nice bike for doing light trails. And I used to ride my Yamaha C3 off-road because of the thick tires, kind of like the Ruckus. So I think that's going to do really well, and it's going to bring the fun back. But riding it on the road, it's not that nice. The ride is kind of rough with the tires, even though they're cupped. The suspension is a little bit cushier for jumping off of curbs, but I think Yamaha kind of did, I guess, look, if I didn't have the PCX, I would think that this thing's great. But the problem is, a lot of this is relative. I really feel that this thing is the best scooter you can possibly get. You can get Vespas, you know, the 200s, 300s, and I'm sure they're great. But this thing is just dead reliable. I've had some issues, but they're mostly like maintenance issues, like the belt snapping, the variator, and I just did a valve adjustment on it, and this thing is just so good. You know, I can't believe that Honda did such a good job with this, and I can only assume that the ADV 150, 160 is better than this. One thing you're going to notice right away is that this thing has got all-day comfort. If I'm doing deliveries, I'm putting like 200 miles per day. This thing's got 23,000 miles. This has got 5,000 miles. This is much harder to ride. I have no issues taking that on the highway. This, I avoid the highway as much as possible. Even though the top speeds are kind of similar. This is about 58 miles per hour. That's 62, 65 I think with the weights that I have on, which is kind of crazy. And remember, I bought this thing and it was wrecked. The previous owner hit the car, you know, they braked in front, so the whole front end was destroyed. And I kind of regret buying it just because it needed way too much work. But by the time I got to North Carolina, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna buy it. And this thing is just an amazing bike. My first PCX, this thing is better than the Honda Silverwing that I had. I prefer riding this over the T-Max. It is a fun bike. And it's so light it feels like it's a bicycle. The large wheels, as opposed to the 12s, is so much nicer to ride. They're predictable. They do feel like a scooter. At the same time, the handling is very, very similar to a motorcycle. And you know, I pulled out these the front brake caliper, and I was surprised. There's actually like 3 pistons in there. That's because the brakes are linked. And same thing with this. They're linked, but I'm sure they're linked in a very different way. But Honda does this on a lot of their bikes, and it tends to work out really well. So braking on it is excellent. This thing gets better gas mileage than this, and that's a 150, that's a 125. How is that even possible? If all you want is looks, the Yamaha Zuma is entirely unique. It looks great. You know, it's the type of bike that you know that it's a hit because every single Chinese clone I see on the road is a copy of this. This is the real thing though. And it's just cool looking. It's just a cool looking industrial bike. And it's also much more accessible from the maintenance standpoint. You can see the engine much more easily. The air filter doesn't have any obstructions for maintenance. The seat is wider, it's taller, it's less comfortable, and there's also this thing. So it's a flat floorboard, but there's a bigger jump from your legs from the ground to the platform than on the PCX. The PCX is kind of like a low rider when in comparison. This does feel like you're elevated higher up, but at the same time, it's after a while, it's like, why am I putting my feet so far up? It puts your knees like a little bit higher. It's less comfortable. And just look at the shape of the seat of this. There's like an edge here. This makes it seem taller than it needs to be. And then on the PCX, you see how it's like tapered? So shorter riders will be able to flat foot much easier. Then you have this like little support here. You have much more space in the seat than on this. This is just weirdly shaped. It's just not, as far as like things that I like about the Zuma, this open pocket is a good idea. I don't like this. And, you know, it's nice to put receipts and stuff, but the closing is not that good. It's kind of like a weird mechanism. I wish it was open, because you can throw a bottle in here as opposed to this, that you have no bottle opener, or bottle holder. And both kickstands and center stands, this tiny little rack is not that usable. I kind of wish they gave us a sturdier rack, but I do like this. The loops for the handrails on the PCX, they're not looped, so you can't like actually fit something through here. Suspension is equally bad on both. It's not, sometimes the thick tires help go through potholes, but at the same time, the big tires, diameter of the PCX, just help you get through things as well. So these tires will help you in gravel, in forest roads, and little mini trails. These do not, because they're so thin. They kind of squirm if you hit any ripples and stuff. So these tires are much better. And look at this. You have a rear disc brake. This is a rear drum brake. That's crazy. Why couldn't they give us disc brakes on the PCX? And by the way, these brakes on the Zuma are much, much better. Much better than the PCX. The PCX has got link braking. It's great, but not that good. The PCX has got a beat is stealability. People don't like that style as much in the United States. They do like this. You know, it's kind of like a cool character type of bike, so people do want to steal these much more. But PCX, all day comfort. I can ride that thing for days. It really feels like it's a touring bike. This feels, I've done long rides on this. It's not comfortable. It's not comfortable at all. I mean, it's hard to say which bike is right for you. I know for me, the PCX is much better. And it just makes me think that if Yamaha did a better version of the Zuma, you know, in a way, this is very different than the ADV 150. This is a much more rugged looking trail bike. It's something that you probably would put in your back of your truck and go exploring like forest roads. It would be much more fun for that. But in a city environment, if you want to tour, if you want to do long rides, the PCX can do it. You know, it's 60 miles an hour. This thing's 58. It kind of feels like it's just too slow. The 150, I just cannot get over how good the 150s are from Honda. Every single 150 I've had, including the SH150, is amazing. The bike in my garage right now, the one I want to ride, is the PCX, and 23,000 miles. Well, those are my thoughts on the PCX and the Zuma. Both great bikes, but my money is on the PCX. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.